Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. Hey y'all, welcome back to the show. I'm starting this week doing a little series, and it's going to last a while because it's just this. The episodes are just going to be once a month about this particular topic. But I wanted to do a little. I'm calling it a Reiki series, and I guess we're not really talking about Reiki, but we're going to go through the chakras. And I think when we're talking about Reiki, for me, it's kind of one and the same, because when we're talking about Reiki, we're talking about bringing balance and order to the chakras. And so I know we've talked a little bit about the chakras before, and I've had some guests come on, but I wanted to specifically talk about each chakra, about the central issues that kind of come up in each chakra, how we can balance them, and then just kind of relating the energetic piece to the physical piece. And so you can have a more, clear, it's not really the word I want to use, a kind of a more grounded perception of chakras. I think sometimes we hear the word chakra and we automatically think like woo-woo stuff, and we don't really know what it means. And there is a really practical way to implement this kind of work into your own life, into your own body. And so I want to kind of bring it down to a practical level, I guess is what I'm trying to say, more practical level, so that you have a little bit of understanding, and then we can start to bring body back to the body on an energetic and physical level, and how have that kind of translate into also bringing balance into the spiritual body. And so that being said, we're going to start with the base of the body and start with the root chakra. So this week, I just want to talk about the root chakra. And I don't want to, kind of like human design, we can like really get into the weeds on this. I just want to kind of give the overview and again, just leave you with some kind of practical things to take with you about each chakra. So that being said, today I wanted to focus on the root chakra. And the root chakra is located at the base of your spine. And so if you kind of look at the human body, it's kind of like down by your pubic bone, right? It's like at the very base. And this is our center for security and safety and feeling grounded. It's our feelings of survival. It's where fear and safety show up, with where self-preservation shows up. These are all the feelings that kind of show up here. Now, we're talking about feeling kind of what's out of balance here in this chakra, because this is our center for safety and security and survival. Sometimes a blockage can be there for so long that you kind of become numb to it, especially in this particular center. And so it's really important to understand how the emotions that can kind of show up in the body, the vices that can show up from blockages in this body, and really having a trained practitioner to help kind of untangle these things. So, and I'll kind of explain that because I have some examples. So, let's talk about an overactive root chakra. So an overactive root chakra, actually, let's talk about a blocked one. So we have kind of a underperforming, if you will, root chakra. It's going to feel you kind of disconnected, maybe feeling fearful, and really kind of unorganized in an overwhelming way. Like you kind of feel this lack of security, and that you're unable to protect yourself, right? Because this is our center for safety and security. So you feel a lack of those things, right? This chakra kind of governs our primary trust valves, right? It's how you trust yourself. It's how you trust other people. And so you kind of feel connected from that sense of trust. An overactive root chakra is going to make you feel maybe more judgmental, aggressive, and you might find yourself kind of overdoing things, maybe overeating or hoarding, or having in this like overwhelming fear of change. And for me, and in my experience with clients with kind of blockages here and overactive pieces here, it can show up as feelings of anxiety. And the physical piece that kind of correlates to this particular chakra are your adrenal glands. And it's no surprise to me that it shows up in this way, and that it shows up in with feelings of kind of anxiety and overwhelm, because our adrenals are, responsible for our management of stress. And so when our root chakra is out of balance, our adrenals are out of balance, and your adrenals aren't really able to kind of manage that stress response. And so feelings of anxiety and overwhelm can show up. And I find that if you know your human design and you have an open root center, so that means that root center at the bottom of your chart would be open. It wouldn't be colored in. You have more of a tendency towards those feelings of anxiety, and it can come from a more external, from external pressure. So you can kind of feel that external pressure to do things, get things done, do things a certain way, and it can manifest itself as anxiety in the body. And so the kind of vices that show up when this center is either overactive or underactive, or it's blocked, it's imbalanced, right? There's imbalances there. It could show up as kind of an overconsumption of things like sex, food, shopping, gambling, work, like overdoing things. And really, I think it's the body's way of kind of masking what's really there, right? You're just trying to do to feel safety and security. It's like your mind's way of like, well, let me just keep doing things and keep honing in on these things, whether it's food or sex, or it could be working out or working or gambling, whatever it is, it's kind of overdoing things. So when we're talking about bringing balance back to the root chakra, really and truly, I find that because this is our chakra that's closest to the earth, this is what helps us feel grounded. This is the ultimate feeling you want to feel with a balanced root chakra, is that feeling of security, safety, stability, stamina, like all of it is here. And so I think, in my opinion, the best way to really start to bring balance back to the center is really connect with the earth. And as silly or woo or whatever as that might seem, I really do think that is what builds a balanced root chakra. Getting outside, spending time in nature, maybe it's going for a walk in nature or just being outside, but if you gardening, things that really help you connect to the earth and really help you feel grounded is going to help with this particular chakra. Also, movement. I find that movement can really help with the root chakra. And even things like intuitive movement, just like dancing, shaking your body. You might have heard of somatic dance before, which is just kind of moving intuitively. It's just kind of intuitive dance, intuitive movement. And I find those can really help bring balance back to the root chakra and really help you kind of reconnect with that piece. Because I really do believe that the root chakra it's our connection to the earth, whereas the crown chakra is our connection to the divine, that God energy, God, whatever that word means for you, to our connection to God. Our root chakra is what helps us ground into the earth, right? There's an earthly realm for us to connect to, and then there's the heavenly realm for us to connect to. And so I think grounding is a really supportive way to help balance this chakra. So Another thing is you can balance this chakra with the right foods, right? So think of grounding foods that help us feel grounded, which literally foods that, I'm going to say this, all foods, like actual food grows in the earth, but like food that grows in the ground, think root vegetables that come from the root of the earth, right? Things like carrots and sweet potatoes and beets and turnips and all those good root vegetables. Also think of things like good quality protein, whether that's animal or plant-based, but it helps us feel grounded. It helps us feel stable in our body. Those are also really supportive ways to support the root chakra. And then speaking of like the physical pieces, now, physically speaking, balancing the root chakra, because our root chakra is associated with the adrenal glands. Supporting the adrenal glands can also be really supportive in helping create a balanced environment for the root chakra. So when we're talking about balancing creating balance in the adrenals or supporting the adrenals, we're looking at things, minerals, vitamins and minerals that are going to support that. And for the adrenals specifically, sodium is the number one thing. And if you don't know my take on sodium, I encourage you to go back and listen to the episode. Or, you can probably scroll through Instagram on any 3 posts I talk about sodium. I talk about it a lot. But sodium, your adrenals use more sodium than any other part of the body. And that sodium is a really great way to support the adrenals to help support this particular chakra. And the other piece of that is vitamin C. Your adrenals also use a whole lot of vitamin C, and that's going to be really supportive for your adrenals. Um, and then just overall stress management, like helping the body manage stress. So things like adaptogenic herbs can be really supportive. You want to support the overall stress response in the body to keep the adrenals from getting so overworked and tired and eventually sluggish because they get so worn out. And that really is going to help create balance in this particular center, in this particular chakra. So if you're looking for like specific essential oils for this chakra, if you're into essential oils, I always like to mention it because I think essential oils can be really supportive for a lot of different aspects of the body, whether it's the physical body or the energetic body. So I always like to have that in my back pocket for people. But essential oils for this chakra, again, these are like warm, grounding fragrances that help you feel grounded. Things like cedar and clove and frankincense and myrrh. Palo Santo, if you don't know what Palo Santo is, that's really one of my favorite things. And I do it around my house at least once a week. You can really find it probably just about anywhere. But if you find it at a place that sells essential oils or crystals, things like that, they always have Palo Santo to sell. Palo Santo is a great way to help you kind of connect with your root chakra. And then things like sandalwood and rosemary and patchouli, like all of those are really grounding fragrances that can help kind of reconnect with the root center or the root chakra. I do encourage you to know, and I know you might be thinking this because if you have an analytical brain, you're automatically like, well, how do I know if I have an imbalanced root center, right? So I want you to feel into, okay, here's an example. I have a couple of examples that I'm thinking of. So I had a client who she was dealing with anxiety. For me, anxiety, any sense of anxiety, there is some sort of imbalance going on in the root chakra. And I have a lot of clients that deal with anxiety. So that's one of the places that we talk about. So I had one client and she was kind of dealing with, and she had managed it pretty well and overcome a lot of things, but she really dealt with anxiety like her whole life. Anxiety and kind of this perfectionist mindset, which didn't do much to, it did a lot to amplify the anxiety. And, looking at her human design chart, she had an open root center. She also had an open sacral center. And I find both of those centers, and we'll get to that chakra later, but both of those can really lend itself to feelings of anxiety. And for her, again, with that open center, it's more about this external pressure and allowing the external pressure. But when that center is open, you're more susceptible to outside conditioning. And so we're more susceptible to kind of that external pressure to do things, to get things done, to do things a certain way. And when you have an open root center in your human design body graph, which is essentially your root chakra, you really aren't designed to constantly do. Like you don't have the drive really to constantly be doing. Like you have to give yourself a little bit of a break and give your adrenals a break. And so you have to almost kind of train yourself to be able to give yourself a break, take a nap, and not let the feelings of like guilt or shame come up because you're not doing something and you're not getting things done, or you don't, because I feel like that per societal conditioning, even without, an opener, regardless of talking about the root center, we have this in Western society, especially, we have this constant drive we have to be doing, and that our worth and our value comes from doing. And if I feel like I'm not valuable enough, I'm just going to do more. If I feel like I'm not good enough, I'm just going to do more. And so we have this perpetual need to just do. And, so many times I hear people tell me like, well, I can't sit still. I can't sit still enough to meditate, or I can't sit still enough to do yoga. And I'm guilty of, I've said the same thing before in the past, before I got into meditation and yoga, really learning to like value and love yoga. And I can't, at night, I just, always have to be doing stuff. And that really is it's a really serious strain on your adrenals. First of all, it's a strain on your body, but it's really allowing for that overactive root chakra to constantly be doing. And so going back to my example, that was one of the things I worked with this particular client I'm talking about is, first of all, it's the awareness piece and understanding that, okay, I have a propensity to do and do and do when actually I really need to take a break sometimes. Like again, we all need to take a break, but especially looking at this open root center, really not designed to have this consistent drive. Like the root center is a motor center, like it's kind of your drive for doing things. And when it's open, you just don't have that same consistent internal drive for things. Again, it's not good or bad, it just is. And so helping my client understand that and understand that, she is safe and she can trust and she can nurture her body and love her body and connect. And those feelings of safety and security by just being and not necessarily doing was a huge thing. Another example, I have another client that comes to mind that was dealing with really intense anxiety. And initially we thought the root of the anxiety was coming from work. And then she ended up changing her work situation and still felt the anxiety was just as intense. And it was just like transferring to something else. And so talking through that immediately there's a root chakra thing going on. There's something stuck in the root chakra that is not allowing her to feel that sense of safety and security. So we kind of talked through it. Was there an instant in your childhood or, teenage years that allowed you, that made you feel not safe, not secure? So we ended up untangling a few things and we talk about some kind of stored trauma and that kind of thing. But that right there, that in and of itself was a big enough clue that there's some stored trauma that's going on in the root chakra that needs to be untangled. There's some balancing that needs to go on. And so we talked through things of how to help, going outside. And actually, as we talked about it, she loves taking walks outside and she loves connecting with nature. And that we realized that was something that she wasn't doing enough of. And so being able to recognize kind of the emotions and the feelings that come from having an imbalanced root chakra, and then kind of how to go about balancing it out. Now, it always helps to have, someone trained in energy healing. So someone that does Reiki or energy healing, that kind of thing, intuitive energy work that can also help kind of untangle things and walk you through things. But the awareness piece is huge, and just understanding what this particular chakra is, like the essential issues that this chakra is focused around, and kind of understanding where the vices show up when things are out of balance, I think is really helpful. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of background and enough information to kind of run with this chakra. The other thing you can do, and I'll say this for all of the chakras, you can easily jump onto YouTube and just type in like root chakra meditation or the insight timer. I love the insight timer. Just type in like root chakra meditation and you can find a guided root chakra meditation to really help untangle things there. You can also go to YouTube and type in like root chakra meditation music or root chakra binaural beats. And there's particular frequency that's associated with the root chakra. And so it can be kind of healing vibrations to help and, put that on when you're working or reading or walking or, hiking. And that can be really supportive as well. So just some tips on kind of how to connect with your root chakra and start to create some balance there. And we will keep going. So each month I'll bring you, each month I'll bring you a new, we'll talk about a different chakra. I'd love to know your questions, anything that comes up for you. If you are feeling out of balance in any particular way, let me know, and I will see y'all next time. Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I can know how to provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics you'd like to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's @TheHopePedraza, or you can visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.